welcome to We Are Wavemakers. I'm Rachel Lai,
And I'm Nazira.
and today we'll be recording episode 2 where we discuss the customer journey, rethinking the funnel. Naz, why is this topic important for us today?
Well, the thing is, we are looking into coming into 2020, and with the evolution of tech, people are talking about AI and all these fun stuff that's happening in the tech world, and we're curious about how customers are evolving in terms of their purchasing journey and whether or not it's even relevant to talk about these funnels and the evolution of it and whether or not businesses are honestly in need of changing because we often meet our clients and we just realize that a lot of their websites are really not optimized to like what's happening out there in the marketing world, all these new functionalities, features. We only meet a few of them that are actually really, really paying attention to optimizing their pages. And so today we really just want to find out whether or not, from an expert, obviously, whether or not businesses need to do this, or are they just going to stay behind and have their landing page as stuck as 2004, or I don't know, like back then. That's what I feel at least.
Okay, that's really important because definitely we live in times where consumers are just so promiscuous with their brand relationships. They're connecting with various brands through media channels, and at this point, we're really struggling to think about how do we make sure that our customers remain loyal or engage with any product or services. And as a brand, this is just something that we have to think about today. So I'm really excited, and I do think it's important for us to speak to an expert, which is why I'm going to introduce a very special guest today who is here with us, Nils Kattau, a conversion optimization specialist, author, speaker, and entrepreneur who is passionate about helping companies increase their sales and leads. He is also founder of the Digital Family, an e-learning platform and network for advanced online marketing. But that's just me, so I really like him to introduce himself and tell us a little bit about yourself. Hi, Nils.
Hello, thanks for having me.
How are you doing today?
I have back pain and I'm hungry, but apart from that, I'm great.
That's hilarious. All right. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what your platform does? Because I know you're doing a lot in education right now for marketers.
You mean the digital family?
Mm-hmm.
So right now, it's not really happening anything there. So the plan is to have one weekly video where people can learn something from someone who's really good at what they do in marketing. But yeah, I'm currently struggling to catch up with the weekly videos. So it's still, there's 11 videos online, but nothing really happened since then. So it's not my main focus right now.
Well, thanks for your honesty then. Other than that, what are you up to these days? What are you busy with?
I'm currently trying to find people who want to attend my event in Bali, which is in November, but I don't want to do self-promotion here.
I love
really.
that plug-in.
Wow, I love it. What's happening?
So I have my best friend that I have a podcast with, Izzy, and she's talking about search engine optimization a lot. I talk about conversion optimization a lot, and we decided to have a 1 week event where we teach conversion and search engine optimization, and that's happening in Bali in November. So yeah, right now we're trying to get people to attend, but again, I don't want to start all of this with self-promotion.
All right. So I guess we'll start asking you the questions that we really want to know, right, Rach?
So, all right, Nils, what are the fundamentals in setting up a marketing funnel, and has it evolved in your opinion?
So I think for almost every question that you asked today, I will start with it depends. Yeah, it really depends on what your business is, on what clients you have. If you sell a product that is very expensive or if you sell a product that is very cheap. So depending on that, you need to have either a real funnel, how people call it these days, when you say you have different steps in your customer journey where you don't start by getting someone just from Google or from whatever platform and they come to your website and they buy instantly. So sometimes especially for higher priced or more complex products, it's important to have some kind of a funnel where you have multiple touch points with users where maybe you first collect their email address because they're interested in something that you talk about, which is all for free. So there is not a big barrier and people can just give you their email address if they're interested in what you offer. And then you send them a list of emails or a series of emails, and then maybe they come again, maybe then they buy a small product from you, and then in the end they buy a bigger one. So that would be a real big funnel. But for many or for most products still, I would say it's enough to just go the short way where people can just come to your website because they're interested in something, depending on the stage they're in right now, because some people just want to compare products, some really want to buy from you, and so on. But I think, a faster way usually is enough if you don't sell a really high priced or a really complex product. However, these days, I think people have to, or companies have to evolve. Companies have to change the way they do marketing because the competition is so strong. And there are so many companies and businesses growing and starting up where you cannot just do it the easy way anymore, but you kind of have to prove you're better than the competition. And a great way to do this is by being present in their heads. So it makes sense to, I wouldn't call this the funnel, but I would rather call it like content marketing or marketing in general, where people become fans of your brand. So they want to buy from you and not from the competition.
So would you say, like, when it comes to content marketing, right? Do you think that every part of the funnel that people are talking about right now, there's different types of content that we can reel them in with, or is it just it comes at the top and then people start trickling down? Because I think that's really what we want to try and understand. A lot of businesses we meet, content creation, I think, is something they really struggle with. They don't understand the strength of it, and so really, we would love to know.
Yeah, I would say content creation or having content is not top of the funnel at all. I mean, it's also top of the funnel, but it's, I think, in every buying phase and every buying stage or in every stage of the customer journey, it makes sense to prove that you know what you're talking about, or even to show people the pains that they might not even know they have. So you could, for example, if you're selling, just looking in the room here, if you're selling acoustic panels, because we're sitting in a really nice studio right now,
Yes.
and you have these panels on the wall, and people might just start out with doing podcasting. So that's an area where you, as an acoustic panel company, could start marketing your product without even marketing it right now. So you could just do podcasts or do a YouTube channel or whatever on how to do a great podcast. Like, what's the best microphone you should use? What headphones do you need? Blah, 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 blah. What camera, whatever. And then every now and then you can talk about acoustic panels, which is basically top of the funnel. So people don't even know that they should have one. But then if you go deeper down the funnel, so people already know, oh, I might have to have one so I don't have so much hall in my voice or whatever, then you could talk about the differences of different panels and so on. So that's more in detail content and not top of the funnel anymore, but it still makes sense. And the further you go down, the more content you can put there. So I think, yeah, it's not top of the funnel, to answer the question.
Great. That was a good analogy that we were looking for to get businesses to understand. Thanks for that.
All right, so let's go on to the next question then. Do you believe markets have evolved in purchasing journey, and how much of it has changed?
I think they have evolved, but there are still many big companies and many successful companies that didn't really evolve. So, of course, they've optimized their websites, but they didn't really reimagine or pivot in their marketing efforts. However, there's a lot of small companies coming that actually manage to do this very well. And I think they will, over time, kill the big ones. So, I mean, I'm not saying that Amazon will die tomorrow and also not in 5 years, but I think they will have a harder time because people will not only trust one big company anymore, but they will actually have multiple companies that they trust, that they want to give their money to or their data or whatever. And it is evolving. The whole marketing scene is evolving, the whole marketing industry. However, yeah, many old, slow companies or big, slow companies tend to lose the connection to all of this.
And is there a reason why you think like smaller businesses are like succeeding in this process? Is it like, why do you think they're the ones who's like adapting better than say like the bigger brands?
It's often because they are run by people who come from a marketing background. So we're in Bali. We all know these. I don't want to use drop shipping as an example, but all these e-commerce people who basically are marketers or developers or whatever, and they are not salespeople, but they know how marketing works, and they just partner up with people who know how selling works, and then that's a great foundation to set these things up.
All right. So moving on, you said like there's a lot of changes. So what can businesses do to adapt to the evolving funnel that is happening in the world today?
I would say one of the most important things is seeing what works for you, because you cannot say this is the perfect funnel. Although there might be ebooks out there saying the perfect funnel.
Yeah, I've
anatomy.
seen that happen quite a bit.
Yeah,
Like, this is the ultimate funnel. And I'm like,
yeah. But people, I mean, that's actually terrible because many people who are not experienced think this is true. it's also there's ebooks about the perfect landing page and everything. I'm always like, there's no perfect landing page. Like that's such bullshit. But yeah, so you have to see what works for you, what works for your audience, for your industry, for your brand image, for your brand age, and so on. And in the end, you just have to do A/B testing everywhere. So don't just A/B test your website. I can talk about tools later, how this is possible, but or maybe I can also explain what A/B testing is, because
That would be ideal because I think that's your expertise, right?
yeah. So yeah, A/B testing is basically you take the current version of something, for example, your website or your landing page, and then you create a B version or a B, C, D, whatever. So you create one or multiple alternatives, and then you split the users to your original and your alternatives, and then you measure how many people convert in the end, so that you can say with a statistically significant result in the end that this version is this much better. So yeah, that's kind of important. And that doesn't only work for websites, but it also works for emails, for email subject lines. It works for your product. So what products should I put on my first page? What products should I have in general? And so on. And in the end, you have to test everything you do and then measure if this works better or worse than what you did before. It's kind of difficult though, because you need a lot of traffic to do this. So you cannot say I have 10 sales per month and I do a lot of A/B testing, because you will never get a result.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, if I were to start thinking about doing this approach, what's the period between this test run, and what if, like, say, I'm a smaller business and I don't have all this traffic? Like, how do I even approach this thought process?
Usually, if you don't have enough traffic to get enough data, so it's not really about the people or the visitors, the number of visitors that you have, but it's about the numbers of conversions that you have, because that determines your result in the end of a test. And what helps is if you cannot get enough data from your main goal, which might be, or we call it the macro conversion. So you have macro conversion, which is, for example, if you're an online shop, it's the sale. So you sell something, that's your macro conversion, but also you have micro conversions, like people add something to the cart, or people visit at least 3 pages, or they don't bounce when they enter your page for the first time. And you can just focus on the micro conversions then, because you get a lot more data than for the macro conversion. And you can start by this. And as soon as you see, okay, this funnel or this customer journey works good enough, then you can start buying traffic for a positive ROI, to do a bit of bullshit bingo here. But yeah, as long as you get more than $1 for every $1 that you spend, you can basically buy traffic. So this is how you can increase the number of visitors that you have, and this is how you can get to a point where you can actually test for the big conversions.
I'd like to add that earlier you mentioned about the different types of A/B testings out there, including email marketing. And oftentimes we meet a lot of businesses saying basically, oh, email marketing, does that still work? And I'd like you to basically clarify whether it does in content marketing. I'm curious because I believe it does, but I think a lot of businesses are very skeptical about it, and they have this giant email list, but they're not doing anything about it.
It depends. I told you I
I
will say
love
this
that.
a lot. It's kind of depending, I wouldn't want to say on the age of your audience, but if you would, for example, have an audience that's 10 years old, so you're selling something for children, basically the parents are your audience, I know, but you have to start with the children, because they have to go to their parents and say, I want to have this stupid toy. And so for them, I would say email marketing doesn't really make sense, because this generation doesn't really use email right now, but they use messengers, or they use Snapchat or whatever. So there, I would say Snapchat, or I don't know what, I think TikTok is the new shit for children. And you would have to do something there, or just try different marketing channels. And email isn't the one marketing channel, but in the end, it's a pretty safe one, because whatever you do, you have to try to get your audience, or to get how do you say, the power over your audience to yourself, because you don't want to only depend on one social network or one channel, and then at some point, because it's run by someone else. So take MySpace as an example. MySpace kind of closed down. I think they are actually closed now again. And yeah, if you were betting on that one, putting all of your efforts in that, and then suddenly it's gone, then you're fucked. Yeah, so that's kind of difficult. And the good thing about email, or about maybe even messenger marketing, so if you get the numbers of people and you can contact them by WhatsApp or whatever, is kind of important, because then you don't lose all of your data just because some third party shuts down. And I think that's very important. So this is also what I try to do. So I did not anymore, but I did a lot on Facebook, and now want to try to get them more to move to YouTube because I see that Facebook reach breaks down or it disappears pretty much. And all the time, I always try to get people in my email list just so I don't lose them whenever they stop using Facebook or when they stop using whatever or when this one shuts down.
That's really good because I've been wanting to understand how to justify it to say potential clients or clients because they come up to us and they ask us like, how do we, how do we make sure that all this is relevant to our audience and why should I keep creating content? Because they find themselves having troubles creating content and they're saying like, what do I send to my customers? How often? And so these questions are super important. And what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I think my thoughts don't really matter in this case because, as I say, it depends. So they just need to try. But one thing that really helps is the framework that's called the bullseye framework. I found that out when reading the book Traction, which is, I don't even know the name, but it's the founder of DuckDuckGo from the search engine. And he describes a framework where you basically try different marketing channels, and it's not only online. So it's also putting a billboard ad somewhere in your city or something. And he explains this framework. It means that you focus on one channel at a time and you focus extremely. So it's not like your Getty Images or iStock photo and you run one Facebook ad that is absolutely irrelevant, like two women shopping, and under that you say, great stock photos. And it's like, what the fuck? And then the intern who built this would say, oh no, sorry, Facebook ads don't work for us. But that doesn't make sense because you need to try everything in one channel, or at least many things that make sense, and then see if the channel works or not. And then when you're done with that, you can continue to the next channel. So and I would recommend that to everyone. So don't only think about, ooh, email marketing doesn't work for us, so our business is shit. That doesn't make sense. But you have to try different areas to promote your business. And then you can see what works and what doesn't work. And it's, as I say, it's not limited to online. So if you run an app for fitness, then book the damn billboard ad space in front of the gym so people will see it. And that makes much more sense usually than just posting Instagram story ads.
Okay, so you do dabble into like offline strategies as well for your clients or for your methods as well. Like you combine them with digital and offline. Like
no, I just recommend.
That was just
to
like
do
a great
it.
idea.
No, that's actually from the book. But so I don't really work with clients anymore. So I don't really do it. But if I would definitely do it. And it actually makes sense if you think about it.
Well, if you have the budget, yeah, it makes sense to put a billboard up, right?
True. But that's the thing. So you should try it and just book a cheap billboard in the beginning, or maybe become friends with the owner of the gym
Right.
and then tell them, hey, could I maybe put a flyer or a poster on your wall, and or maybe do a barter deal, like don't offer money but offer them something in return
like
that
an
helps them.
exchange.
Exactly. So
Okay.
then usually you can get away pretty cheap, at least in the beginning, just to try things out.
Cool, I like it. So, moving on, can you give us insights on some free tools that businesses can use to help optimize their funnel?
I mean, first of all, if we're talking about email marketing or something, there's so many tools out there that you can use. So I don't really want to mention all of them. But one thing that I like to use, especially if people are low on a budget, you shouldn't use MailChimp or anything, but you can go to a tool called Sendy. So it's sendy.co. And this is a tool that basically lets you send emails 100 times cheaper than MailChimp. No joke. So it's actually 100 times cheaper. And yeah, you can basically send emails for free with that. So you send, I think 10,000 emails cost like $2.50 or something. And this is something you can start with. So you don't need to have a budget for that really. And also, so again, there are many tools for this. There are many tools for...
Maybe let's go by channels, like that you started out email. What are, like, let's say with website, landing pages and stuff.
Yeah, so for email, Sendy, as I just said.
Is there a reason why you're against MailChimp?
I think it's too expensive for
Fair
starting out.
For budget reasons only.
Yeah. But of course, if you want to use it, you can use it. It doesn't really matter. Like the tool should never be the most important factor. In the end, you have to see what do I want to achieve, and then what tool can achieve this. So that's how you should pick your tool, and not by the name or by the brand or
Definitely,
whatever.
that's so important.
And also, I think for email, which is kind of nice, is triggered email marketing. So you can use tools like Active Campaign. If someone, for example, left their shopping cart, you can send them an email because you know they left the shopping cart. And you can create segments and then create triggered emails. And this is really nice. Yeah, but I'm not that deep into email marketing. So I think one very important thing for email marketing is making sure that your emails actually get delivered. So you need to focus a bit on tech. So you should talk to someone who knows about the technical part of it. And you should, for example, set your SPF records. You should send your, I think, DMIK entries and blah, blah, blah. So some technical stuff so that you make sure emails actually reach your customer. And then also care for your sender reputation, which is, again, why Sandy is really nice, because they use Amazon's. So use it with Amazon SES, the simple email services by Amazon, which is basically the same email service that Amazon uses for their customer support email. So the sender reputation is really high. And that kind of makes sense, because I had a lot of struggles with some domains in my life that got like 60, 70% reach of their emails. So it was really bad. And then when I switched to Sandy, it suddenly was above 99% again.
What about websites? What do you think is a tool that you like to use that's maybe free or affordable?
Does brain count? Because that's actually important. So people need to think. They actually need to try to understand how users work and how users think. One thing that helps you understanding that is actually asking them. So you should ask not really your friends, because they will be too nice to you. You need to have people that are brutal and brutally honest. And so maybe get people from your target audience, invite them, ask them questions, do some user surveys or whatever. And also you should always, or very often, use the possibility to ask people on your website and track everything that they do. Of course, anonymous, because we're not China. But yeah, you can use tools like Hotjar. I recommend them a lot. And with Hotjar, you can do mouse tracking, so you can see not only the heat maps where the mass of the people put their mouse, but you can also user playback, so you can see what the single user did, where they move their mouse, when they scroll, where they click, blah, blah, blah. And you can understand the usability issues of your website, or where they were confused. You can see rage clicking when people are like click, 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 because they're enraged. And I think the most important thing you can do with Hotjar is asking people questions depending on anything. So you can define when the question triggers, and then you can ask very specific questions about different things. And I think that's one of the most powerful tools to understand the visitors on your website, because if you run a website, you are suffering from organizational blindness. Everyone is, because people know too much about their website. They know how to use everything. They know where to find everything. They know the technical terms. They are basically blind because they cannot see from a different or from a third party point of view.
That's really good insights, because I find that it's true when it comes to your website. You love it too much that you kind of need like the outside perspective to give you a little bit more insights.
And you need to be open for that, because I do these live clinics a lot where people just submit their websites, and then I tell them what I would change from my gut feeling in the end, because I don't see the data at that point. And you should, if possible, always base it on data. But many people get defensive because they're in love with their website and they put so much time and heart into this. And then when someone says that's bullshit, they will be like, no, it's not. You don't know what you're talking about. But maybe I don't. But I think many of the times I do know, and they are just being defensive.
Yeah, and I guess a lot of people also don't really understand how to make sense of data, and they always look at things from like the surface level. So, it requires like a certain perspective or an expert
True.
to make sense of data.
Yeah,
right?
Which brings me to another very important tool, which is any A/B testing tool that you can use to optimize your website. And the tools tell you found a winner. You don't even have to understand the data, which is nice for people who don't. But if you want, you can dig really deep into segments and blah, blah, blah. But in the end, it tells you found a winner. So there's even one free tool that I like to recommend. It's Google Optimize. So if you just Google for Google Optimize, you can just use it. It's like an add-on of Google Analytics. So it's pretty easy to implement. And then you can actually set up your tests without any technical knowledge. If it's an easy test, like you can test different headlines, different text, different images, whatever.
Super valuable. I think our listeners have a lot of tool insights today. All right, moving on. Let's talk about budget. What kind of budget should a business put aside in order to optimize their funnel? And I know you're going to say it depends.
I was just about to say
So if it
that.
helps to select an industry or a product or a service, go for it, so that it's more relevant for you.
So it depends. I still need to say it. I think a very good number that you can start with, because of course, you don't want to spend all your money on marketing. But I think if you are in an earlier stage, so if you're not earning that much, you should put a higher percentage of your revenue or of your profit into marketing. I don't really want to say a percentage number, but maybe you say start with 30% or something. And in the long run, I would say always put 10% of your revenue into marketing. Because in the end, of course, you have to find marketing channels that actually make you more money. And if you found those, you can increase the budget because in the end, it will bring you more money than it costs. So it makes sense. But until you're there, I think it's a safe way or a safe thing to say that you just put 10% aside. And with that budget, you can try different channels. And whenever you find one that works really well, increase the budget for that channel.
Does that include the cost for like content as well, you would say?
Depends. I don't know.
It depends, right?
I actually have
I
no
know.
idea. I mean, I know agencies who do content marketing, and I know the prices that they charge, which is in Europe though.
Mhm.
And I would say they charge too much sometimes, but it's an agency, so of course they do. And yeah, I think
It depends. Yeah, no, I mean, you know what? I totally can get this whole it depends thing because we really respond the same way when it comes to a client because we need to understand the scenarios of what they're going through in their business and where they're at in their problems in the customer journeys. So yes, guys, it depends.
Yeah, but the thing is really just pick a budget, pick some amount of money and try. But it's I think in this case, this you pay peanuts, you get monkeys really counts. So
That's true.
don't aim for the student who's just starting out, but actually get someone who's proven they know what they're doing if you want to try things.
Super valuable. All right. And last but not least, let's talk about the future. What do you see evolving further for the customer journey in 2020?
I said that for I think 5 years now, but I keep saying it because it doesn't happen yet. So it will probably not be in 2020, but I think we will see a lot of automation in the future. So I mean, it's already started in very small steps, but stuff like chatbots who actually, I mean, they don't really replace someone who's selling something and they don't replace a website, but they can help find people what they're looking for. I think these things kind of evolve. And then also automation in terms of real-time adjustments on your website. So you can use JavaScript, for example, if you see many of the people that are on my website, if they read this paragraph of text or this list, this bullet list on my website, usually they are more likely to buy. You can easily measure that. And if you do that, oh, by the way, you can measure reading by mouse movement. So if you see so it's not really accurate, but it kind of works. And if you see that, and then you see visitors, oh, they scrolled through my website and they didn't pay attention with their mouse to this element on my page that usually increases my conversion rate, then when they scroll further down, I will place it there again and much more prominent and stuff like this. So this real-time adjustment, real-time personalization, maybe. I think these things will come, probably still not in 2020 because companies are just not smart enough yet to figure these things out. But it will come, and I think if it comes, it makes a huge difference.
Huge difference to the brands or to the audiences?
To how much you're selling.
All right. So you're talking about from the brands. Now, I'm curious about the audience perspective. Like, say, how would I feel if I was a customer and I knew that everything I was doing was being tracked? And,
Well, you should know that already.
I know, but then, it bothers me a little bit thinking, as in, say, if I'm a little bit more conscious about privacy and data and whatever I do in the realm of the internet, do you think it's important for brands to be a little bit more considerate about their approach with their customers? In the name of selling, I know it's important, but where do we draw the line in bringing sort of like a level of respect as well?
I think it's not disrespectful if you want to provide the best possible experience for someone, which is basically what you do if you want them to buy from you. You're not tricking them into buying from you. You just make sure they get all the information that they need. And I mean, maybe that's a very marketer's perspective on these things.
I was going to say that it is a very marketer's perspective. And I don't think it's wrong if it's supposed to help a business grow as well, as long as you're not taking advantage of them and using that data for things that are, illegal, it should be okay.
I mean, of course you don't. I mean, you can if you're shady.
Black hat marketing.
Yeah, but I don't think. I mean, what's illegal in this case? So, I mean, in general, if you're living in Europe, by the way, or for example, right now people actually have to opt in actively into tracking, into cookies. So they
I
kind
saw
of
you
have
have
the
that on your
chance.
website as well.
Yeah, have to. You actually, like, everyone has
Well,
to,
that's
as
the
long as
thing.
people from
I
Europe
mean, like
come.
in Asia, for example, I think the laws are still very I want to say archaic, but people are just doing whatever they want
Uh,
in this part of the world.
Yeah, but that's a misconception, because as long as people from Europe can enter your website, companies from Europe can sue you for not sticking to the rules of GDPR.
This needs to be educated to a lot of these people.
Yeah, but I mean, in the end, although this is kind of a public statement, but I mean, as long as no one sues you, well, but I didn't say this, but so
You didn't hear it
usually,
from
yeah,
here.
usually you have to stick to it. But right now, what happens on my website, for example, is people have to say okay, but they already get tracked. But now the new law, which is super new, it was like 1 week ago or 2 weeks ago, is that you are not allowed to to track anything until people click okay, I want to be tracked. And that's what you say. So there, people have the chance to say I want to be tracked, but actually, if they say no, I don't want to, I don't want cookies, it literally reduces the quality of the websites for them. So that's again the marketer speaking, but I think it's not a bad thing, seriously, because in the end, it's not like you're doing psycho tricks and brainwashing. It's, I mean, give me one example.
Well, I don't know. I mean, we were marketers, so psychology is an important element in us understanding our consumers and also their journey. So
Yeah,
we're
but still, you're
analyzing
helping
them.
them.
We're
I mean,
analyzing what they're doing. We're
True.
analyzing how they move their mouse, how they read things.
yeah. I think that just helps improving the website, which is
True.
basically bringing you more sales. Yes.
I mean, if you're talking about content marketing and that you want your user to feel engaged, I mean, why are you on the website to begin with? Clearly, you want to know something, and we're just
Yeah.
making it better for you. This is how I think marketers see it in perspective. Whereas for a user, I think we are slowly going in the direction of giving them more autonomy, of giving that leeway of saying, I don't agree to cookies. But
Yeah.
I agree with Nils. It's important that they let us track some information, because we need to know, did you like the website experience or did you not, and I think it's important that happens.
I mean, in the end, I think people, no offense to anyone, but people don't, even if they say, ooh, I'm so about data privacy, but they're complaining about this on Facebook. So
Totally.
they
There's
don't
like
really
a
know
whole
what they're
level of
talking about.
hypocrisy that's going on in that. I don't even want to get to that conversation, but it's true. I do agree. In that.
But in the end, of course, you shouldn't use your powers for evil.
That's the summary I wanted from you.
Okay.
All right, I think we've run out of time, but we just wanted to say thank you so much, Nils, for such great insights for us. I think our listeners would be really happy to hear this.
Well, thanks for having me.
Nina, so what did you think? That was amazing. Great insights from Nils. I'm definitely rethinking the funnel. What about you?
I think that he gave such amazing points, especially on the part of understanding the different channels and how no formula is perfect for every business. It's really hard. And this is the thing that, for us, when it comes to strategy, people keep asking, like, okay, what's the strategy for this? And at the end of the day, it really depends on where they're at with the current situation and who's their market, what their market's pain points are. And then we can talk about what are the optimized channels that works to get them down all the way to the sales funnel, right?
Mhm.
And I think he brought up a lot of great points on the fact that we should really be A/B testing.
Yeah, definitely. And I think a lot of businesses don't think about that. It is important to track not just your sales, but this A/B testing thing and audience behavior.
Yeah. And in the world of content, content is what really drives people to convert. And, whether it's a soft brand awareness or even really about getting them straight away to purchase, the whole idea is to test whether this works or that works, and really focus on what works.
But that's a difficult process because, like, we work with so many clients, and how do we sort of like educate them into, moving towards that journey? Because most times it's the question of budget, time. What do you think? Like, how do we sort of like educate them to understand that this is an important step into understanding your customer journey?
Yeah, so for the fact that, there's a lot of education needed, we're a very nurturing bunch. And as a nurturing bunch, we're always sort of kind of sitting down with them and telling them, okay, so if you do this, this is the potential outcome. And, I mean, I remember yesterday we were just having a call with one of our clients, and we had to go through the journey of explaining why these keywords or these content is going to work better. She was asking me something about a landing page, and there's a lot of like misinformation about this, and that they are going on the general sense of what they see on wherever they're reading it. I'm not going to say that it's specific sources because I have no idea where they get their conclusions. But what I know for sure is that they definitely have not analyzed, and this is where Niels was right, the whole like looking into your own website and allowing other people to give you criticism or thoughts on your
Being
website.
open to feedback, basically.
Yeah, and like, we were saying, yeah, you need that landing page. Why don't you have it? It will make the ease of the process of buying easier. But some people don't really want to hear that, you know?
I guess if I was a business owner, it's a matter of ego, no? I mean, why would I want someone to tell me, why would I want my customer to tell me that what I'm thinking is wrong, you know? So it's almost like a contradiction in my head, you know?
Yeah, so in that light, I think what's important here from this entire episode is just to understand that your funnels, they can't be optimized without you, one, being open about wanting to optimize it.
Definitely.
And then the second thing is to test your content and continue testing and track it, right?
It's always about the research. It's always about understanding, and it doesn't end there.
And with that, we just want to say thank you so much to our listeners for plugging in with us today. Feel free to subscribe. We are on pretty much every channel: YouTube, Spotify, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. We're all on it. Testing it all out, aren't we?
Seeing what's best for us.
Exactly. And with that, my name is Nazira.
And I'm Rachel Lai.
And we are recording live from Bali Praya Studio and Lounge from the Island of Gods, Bali.